Welcome to Who Came Up With That, the podcast where we uncover the surprise and origin stories of the everyday stuff you never really stop to question. I'm your host, Bang Biscuit. You can call me Bang. Today's episode, we're talking about the internet. You know, that magical web of cat videos, angry tweets, questionable ads, viral dance trends, 3 a.m. Wikipedia spirals, and if we're being honest, about 80% memes and 20% accidentally leaving your mic on during a Zoom call. But the internet is more than a place to scroll your soul into oblivion. It's a technological revolution, maybe the technological revolution of our time. But it didn't come from nowhere. Today we're going to trace the internet's roots from prehistoric smoke signals to ARPANET, from a failed login attempt to TikTok celebrities, with a few bizarre, brilliant, and lesser-known pit stops along the way. It all started as a military experiment, one that was never meant for you to Google, what does a platypus sound like at 3 a.m.? You use it every day. Matter of fact, you're probably using it right now. The internet. Who came up with that? Before we ever had modems, megabytes, or memes, humans still had one big obsession: communication. We're wired for it. In the beginning, it was smoke signals, drums, horns. Ancient peoples used rhythmic sounds and coded signals to alert villages of danger, or sometimes just to say, hey, dinner's ready. Then came writing. The Sumerians, they gave us cuneiform. The Phoenicians, they gave us the first alphabet. Fast forward a bit, and suddenly monks are hand copying illuminated manuscripts in cold stone rooms. But it wasn't until the 19th century that the communication really got fast. Enter the telegraph. Invented in the 1830s and 40s by Samuel Morse and others, the telegraph allowed messages to travel across wires almost instantly. It's hard to overstate how big that was. Before that, news could only travel as fast as a horse, a boat, or a very determined pigeon. Suddenly, with telegraphs and later telephones and radio, we were shrinking the world. But even then, messages were mostly one-to-one or broadcast only. If you wanted to send a message to millions and get millions of responses, well, you were still out of luck. That is, until the computer age arrived. The year is 1957. The Cold War is in full swing. Tensions between the U.S. and the Soviet Union were high, like we might blow up the planet high. Then the Soviets did the unthinkable. They launched Sputnik, the first man-made satellite into space. That set off alarm bells in Washington, and suddenly the United States was afraid it might be falling behind in science, tech, and worst of all, military communications. So the Pentagon, they decided to do something bold. It formed ARPA, the Advanced Research Projects Agency, and that funded high-risk, high-reward science projects. Think of it as DARPA today, but with slide rulers and pocket protectors. One of the big concerns? What would happen if a Soviet missile hit a major American city, taking out centralized communication hubs? Well, the answer was clear. They needed a decentralized network, one that wouldn't collapse if a single point was destroyed. And so began the groundwork for what would eventually become the internet. Let's jump ahead to 1969, the year of Woodstock, the moon landing, and the birth of ARPANET. Funded by ARPA, ARPANET connected 4 massive computers at UCLA, Stanford, UC Santa Barbara, and the University of Utah. Well, these weren't laptops, mind you. These were refrigerator-sized humming beasts with blinking lights. Each site had something called an interface message processor. Think of it as basically a router in the early days, and that helped the computers talk to each other. The first ARPANET link was established between the Network Measurement Center at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, at their Henry Samueli School of Engineering and Applied Science, directed by Leonard Kleinrock. And the NLS system at Stanford Research Institute, SRI, directed by Douglas Engelbart in Menlo Park, California at 10:30 p.m., October 29, 1969. The first message ever sent on ARPANET was supposed to be the word login. But they only got through 2 letters. We set up a telephone connection between us and the guys at SRI, Kleinrock said in an interview. We typed the L, and we asked on the phone, "Do you see the L?" "Yes, we see the L," came the response. We typed the O, and we asked, "Do you see the O?" "Yes, we see the O." Then we typed the G, and the system crashed. Well, now you got a few computers talking, barely. But if we're going to scale this up, we need a common language, something that any computer on any network can use to communicate. And that's where 2 names come in, Vint Cerf and Bob Kahn. Well, they created the Transmission Control Protocol and Internet Protocol, or the TCP/IP in the 1970s. Here's the basic idea. Data is broken into packets, labeled like postcards with a destination and return address. The internet doesn't care what kind of device you're using. It just delivers your little packets across a vast web of routers and switches like an army of microscopic couriers. This was a big deal. It meant computers could talk to each other regardless of their make, model, or network. And on January 1st, 1983, ARPANET officially switched to the TCP/IP, and this is the date most internet nerds consider the true birth of the modern internet. It was like the Big Bang of networking. Alright, so we've got this incredible, invisible machine, a growing network of networks. But it's still a geek-only zone. There's no mouse, no hyperlinks, no memes, just text, and lots of command lines. Then in 1989, a physicist named Tim Berners-Lee, who worked at CERN in Switzerland, he decided enough was enough. He proposed a way to link documents together using something called hypertext. His boss wrote, "Vague but exciting," on their proposal. Imagine that. He needed a way for scientists to easily access and share documents across different systems. So he created a system that linked information together in a way that was easy to navigate. The results were the HTML, which is the code used to create web pages, HTTP, the protocol used to request and deliver them, and URLs, which is the addresses that take you there. And just like that, the World Wide Web was born. The first website went live in 1991. It was a plain page explaining what the web was. Fitting, right? By the mid-90s, the floodgates were open. The internet became visual, clickable, global. Browsers like Mosaic and Netscape Navigator let people click around and explore. Companies took notice, because of course, by the late 90s, we had Amazon, eBay, Yahoo, and let's be honest, a whole lot of dancing baby gifts. Boy, were there a lot of those. Now, speaking of eBay, the first ever item sold on the website was a broken laser pointer. The first webcam ever used? It was used to monitor a coffee pot at the Cambridge University so researchers wouldn't have to walk down the hall for an empty pot. The first image ever uploaded to the web? It was a bizarre promo photo of a parody girl band made up of CERN staff. They're called the Les Horribles Cernettes. All right. And the internet, it also changed how we experience world events. When Princess Diana died in 1997, early web forums crashed under the traffic. The Clinton-Lewinsky scandal broke on the Drudge Report, which was a scrappy online gossip site that scooped the major networks. On September 11, 2001, the internet became a lifeline, with real-time updates, missing person boards, and early blog coverage spreading faster than the TV could. Later, revolutions like the Arab Spring in 2011 were fueled by social media. The internet had become not just a tool, but a battleground, a soapbox, and a public square where you could be heard by everybody.
You've got mail.
In the 2000s, the internet became faster, sleeker, and a lot more personal. Broadband replaced dial-up, Wi-Fi meant you weren't tethered to the wall, and then came the rise of social media. MySpace let you rank your friends, and possibly lose some friends depending on where you ranked them. Facebook started in dorm rooms. YouTube let anyone become a star or think they could become a star. Twitter, they asked what you were doing constantly. The web went from a library to a cocktail party. Everyone was creating, sharing, liking, commenting, and oversharing. And then came 2007 when Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone. Suddenly, the internet wasn't something you went to, it was something you carried in your pocket. Apps exploded, streaming took off, and the cloud became the new hard drive. And of course, with that came influencers, cancel culture, trolls, and a whole new vocabulary. DM me, link in bio, swipe up, #blessed. Today, over 5 billion people are online. That's more than half the planet. The internet's in your car, it's in your fridge, it's in your wristwatch, it's probably even in somebody's toothbrush. It powers global commerce, news, education, entertainment, dating, medicine, logistics, space exploration, and yes, there's still all those cat memes that everybody loves. It also raises questions. Questions about privacy, misinformation, screen addiction, and the influence of big tech. But one thing's for sure, it's one of the most revolutionary inventions in human history, and to think it all started with a message that couldn't even spell login. Well, that's it for today's episode of Who Came Up With That? Thanks for logging in and sticking around for more of these puns in future episodes as well. If you like this story, leave us a review, share it with a friend, or post about it on whatever platform you're currently addicted to. And don't forget to subscribe. Next time, we'll be exploring the surprisingly complicated history behind duct tape. Also, let me know if you guys prefer these shorter stories, 10, 15, 20 minutes long, or you could always go more in depth and make it about 30, 45 minutes, an hour long if we wanted to really get into the back or the nuances of all this complicated stuff. Like this internet episode, we could have went into all sorts of scientific background about how all the stuff was made to get into where we're at now. So if you guys prefer these shorter ones, or you rather want more intricate and more information, longer episodes, let me know in the comments. And until then, I'm Bang Biscuit, reminding you that behind every tape, click, and stream is a story. Stay curious and maybe clear your browser history. Ooh, definitely clear your browser history.